WOLVERINE here, and welcome to the Comic Shtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. And after a hiatus of a little bit, I am back to talk about San Diego Comic-Con. I'm back to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm back to talk about Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU as Victor Von Doom. And a bunch of other stuff in there as well. I talked about how I've been working on the Custodians and some additional side projects that have been taking up most of my time recently. I haven't had the chance to record a lot or set aside time to record in lieu of all that other stuff. I've also just been very tired. I don't know, I might have a vitamin D deficiency or something because I don't really go outside that often. And I know that causes fatigue, and it's been an issue I've had in the past. So I'll buy some vitamins and see how it turns out. But I've just been so tired every day when I get home. I don't, I take a nap, and then I gotta try and perk myself back up from that. By the time I do that, I focus on other stuff that's not related to the channel. And also, I kind of figured I didn't really have much to talk about, aside from a couple Savage Dragon and a couple other themed episodes. So I figured I may as well wait for Deadpool and Wolverine to come out, and I completely forgot about San Diego Comic-Con and when that was happening. So these are two just folded in topics of conversation that are going to be happening in this episode. I got some other ones I want to talk about. Planet of the Apes. I'm going to do an episode covering all of those films because I watched, as you can see right behind me, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Absolutely loved it. Review coming in a future episode of Comic Shtick. And some other stuff. I can't remember what. But if this is your first time here watching this for some reason, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey's videos, where you can get access to my comics, The Custodians, Agents of Cross, a love letter to the 60s era of comics and comics history in general. Each issue is over 50 pages long. Currently, issues 1 and 2 are available in their completion to view on there for as little as $2 a month. I also have early access to videos when available, original art, and a bunch of other stuff on there. Movie commentaries, stuff like that. Follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild as well. I post my art on there primarily. And what else do I talk about at the beginning of these episodes? Don't really remember. Time codes, of course, are in the description if there's anything in particular you're looking for. There's going to be a lot of spoilers, by the way, so don't be shocked. And getting right into things with The Crow's Nest. Caw-caw! This is something I decided to do for some reason, even though I have no interest in the Crow, original, reboot, comics. None at all. I have decided to allot a space in just about every episode of the show. There were a couple times where I forgot to discuss The Crow. Now, The Crow had a trailer release sometime recently. I keep seeing it on advertisements on YouTube. And I didn't realize it was rated R. At least or maybe I forgot that it was R-rated. But it looks fine. It might have some gnarly, fight scenes, but I don't think it's going to be doing very much anything else. Maybe some interesting visuals. I tried to find that trailer that I keep seeing, and I wasn't sure which one it was, because there's a lot of them from, several months ago, and I'm like, that can't be it. And so I was going to watch the trailer for this right now, just right before I record, just to refresh my mind, because I'm getting old. And I couldn't find which one I was looking for, and I didn't want to rewatch the old one. Instead, so then I came across a different horror movie trailer for something called The Red. And The Red is, for all intents and purposes, Jaws, but with a kangaroo in the Australian outback. It's about these rangers who are out in the boonies. I don't know if the boonies is a thing in Australian vernacular. Just out in the countryside. And there is a zombie giant kangaroo if you remember, like 10 years ago, there was that photo of that fucking jacked kangaroo going around. It looks like that, but its eyes are all white, and it's bloody and kind of like gross looking. It's been infected by some sort of chemical that has caused it to zombify, quote unquote. Although that's seemingly just, there's no zombies in this movie aside from that, so it's seemingly some sort of Cujo situation, I suppose. Cujo's another apt descriptor for this in a way, but seemingly it's a movie about a massive uber feral kangaroo just murdering people as they're trapped in the middle of nowhere, like in just whatever random house is here, and then several miles this way is the primary setting. And they got their little jeeps, and that's it. Don't have any firearms, don't have any real weapons to protect themselves, seemingly, so they're gonna have to get inventive, I'd imagine. But it honestly, you know, from the sounds of it, it sounds like a shitty B-movie that you'd see on Sci-Fi. And yeah, it does sound like that, and I did expect that from this trailer. I expected it to be like the Winnie the Pooh shitty horror movie that came out. But it actually has some surprisingly well-looking production quality to the film. It looks good. The acting's all pretty well, I'm not gonna say great. The acting is better than I expected. It all seems very well done. And there's only one scene in this trailer where the kangaroo doesn't look good, and it clearly looks like it's just been processed into the actual camera footage, and that's right at the end of the trailer if you do watch it, before like the tagline pops up or something when the kangaroo's inside the house, which it's bound to happen because otherwise it's always shown either at night or like in the shadows. There's a great scene where these two guys are just walking down the fucking dirt road and they hear something, they shine their flashlight over, and they just see the two luminescent eyes of the kangaroo, and they're like, oh, it's just it's a fucking kangaroo. Oh god. Let's walk this other way. And before they could do anything, one guy gets fucking dragged through the grass somehow. Whatever. Maybe it has a prehensile tail for some reason. That'd be neat. But it looks a lot better than it has any real right to be, and it might be a fun movie. So that's the Crow's Nest segment of the show, featuring Red, or The Red? What was it called? Yeah, The Red. I don't know what that's entitled to. Is that an Australian thing? The Red? The Red. Is that like a kangaroo term? Because they make a Skippy the Kangaroo joke. They also make a Skippy the Kangaroo joke in the movie, and then they make another one in the trailer itself, like the taglines, the text appears on the screen, and they call it Rippy. Rippy Goes Rogue or something like that, it said. I was like, what the fuck is this? Was that the working title for this movie? Before they realized how fucking stupid that is, and no one would see it then. But, like, where does the red come from? What does that mean? Does it have any deeper meaning? Is it like a location? Is it a reference to a sports team? Are they going to get Red Rooster? I don't know. If you have any idea in the comments, let me know. Go check out the trailer. Moving on to, apparently there's an Evil Dead animated series in the works, and Bruce Campbell has apparently come back to voice Ash Williams. This is from Deadline, so seemingly it's a good source. That's all I have written in my notes, and I do not remember reading about that too much. But if it looks good and is well written, I'm all for it. I love Evil Dead. I love all the Evil Dead media projects aside from the 2013 one. I have a whole episode dedicated to Sam Raimi films where I discussed that one. I think it was before or sometime after Multiverse of Madness came out. I watched all the Sam Raimi films that I hadn't seen, and I also discussed at an extreme length The Evil Dead 2013 film, a movie that I do not enjoy. I hate that movie. It's just so fucking bland. It's Evil Dead in name alone. I'm not gonna get into it. But that'd be cool to see. I'm down for that. I don't remember how Ash vs. Evil Dead ended, but I'm pretty sure it was with the apocalypse. Or something along those lines. And I don't recall. I don't know. You could do fucking anything with this. It doesn't have to be set beyond Ash vs. Evil Dead. That'd be neat if they found a way to tie it into that. I would be perfectly fine. But if they're like, oh, let's take some stuff from the early 2000s video games and let's get that like midget dwarf zombie guy. Remember him? The one that looked like the character from The Goon, but a zombie man? Let's bring him back into the canon. Let's do that. Let's make some unofficial fucking Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers crossovers like they did in the comics with Evil Dead. That's what they should just fucking adapt either officially or unofficially adapt the Evil Dead comic stories, the good ones at least, into this animated show. No one would know because no one's read those stories. And they got some unique, fun ideas. Speaking of comics, before we take a brief break into other media, apparently Marvel Comics will now have a QR code to view its quote-unquote final page. And everybody had the response I just had. Why? Why would you do that, Marvel? I honestly cannot wrap my head around this purpose, except for, I'd imagine it's somehow tied into Marvel Unlimited, like the page is hosted through Marvel Unlimited and its app. It makes it easier, like you scan the QR code and it goes through the app and, you know, there's like a banner on top. I don't know, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't fucking read a new comic book in a while, several months, well before the last episode of Comic Shtick came out. I've talked about it before. Just keeping up with the monthly comics, it's too much homework for me. But just what the fuck is this? That's what that comes down to. Why? Is it just to push Marvel Unlimited? I haven't seen a lot of like any other discussion since the news broke and that came out. And the whole final page thing, it's not really the final page, because from my understanding of it, as someone who again has not read any of these books where this is implemented, it doesn't seem like it's anything pertinent to the story. It's kind of just like an extra little bonus thing. It's like in the 60s and 70s when our Marvel couldn't sell an extra ad page, so they were just like, hey, Jack Kirby, can you draw a pinup of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch? What do you mean you want to get paid extra? Fuck off, do it. And then they would have a pinup of, like, you know, whatever character in the back of the book because they couldn't sell an ad page somewhere. So it's just a purely ancillary thing that's just, it's a gimmick, is really what it is. It's a gimmick that... It's a gimmick that I don't know what its purpose is. And the only thing that I come back to is Marvel Unlimited. Because why the fuck else? I guess it's an exclusivity thing, but that doesn't even make sense. Because are these extra pages going to be collected in the trade paperbacks and the omnibuses and the collected versions? Are you going to have to scan a QR code in those books to get it? Are they all going to be collected in the back of the book where, like, the extra covers and concept art and shit typically goes? I would guess that, again, it's just an extra page that, like, oh, Doctor Doom is going to show up in the next issue, and we might tease that slightly in the final couple pages, but this last QR code page. That's the one that cuts to Victor Von Doom's castle in Latveria. That's the one where there's a cool pinup of Doctor Doom sitting in his throne, preparing to conquer the world. You know, something like that. Like, it's just an extra bit. Maybe it will reveal what's going to happen, or, like, you know, tease what's going to happen in the next issue. Maybe you scan the QR code and it's Captain America blowing his brains out or something. I don't know why that, of all things, was my fucking go-to example. But it was. I don't know. But what if that's what it is? But what if every QR code is just Captain America killing himself? I don't fucking know. Has it been implemented yet? Is it a thing? I know Gail Simone's new X-Men comics are coming out. Do those have them in there? Does that have Captain America killing himself in the back of the book? It's just such a stupid... Why was that? The big go-to for me was... Oh, God. I don't know. I don't know where to go from here in terms of this conversation. There's nothing else to say. I made my point. I discussed my theories. And I'm just going to have to move on. Remember at the start of the show, a whole 15 minutes ago or so, where I said I wanted to watch the trailer for The Crow, and I found that kangaroo horror movie instead? The trailer I did find to rewatch was Hellboy, the Crooked Man. I know it's getting a lot of flack, because it's also on the cheaper level. I would say this is also on par with probably the production of The Red. Ironically enough. This one probably has more of a budget going for it, I'd imagine, because Mike Mignola and Hellboy. Although, who knows with Hellboy, and it is being run by Ketchup Entertainment or something like that. I wish that motherfucker outside would stop revving his tiny little cock in his fucking loud gas car. God almighty, I fucking hate him. I don't know if you could hear that. It's just some dipshit outside in a parking lot somewhere nearby, revving his fucking engine, probably at the stoplight, trying to race some unwitting passerby. Anyway, Hellboy the Crooked Man. Hellboy the Crooked Man, the comic, fantastic. Can't remember really what happens in it much, aside from witches. Hellboy the Crooked Man, the movie. It also seems, funnily enough, similar to the premise of The Red. Is The Red just Hellboy the Crooked Man, but with a kangaroo? Because let's look at the comparison and contrastions of Hellboy and the 2024 horror film coming soon, The Red, about a giant killer kangaroo. Hellboy is a big, beefy man with a giant hand. The Red features a giant humanoid creature, similar to Hellboy, I suppose, with giant feet instead of a giant hand. Both of them have tails. Both of them have clawed feet, kind of. Hooved feet. What do kangaroos have? Both films take place in the middle of nowhere, in very rural environments, where you are more or less trapped here solely, and there is a dark force at play. Both of them seemingly have larger cast of very easily killable characters that will be whittled down to the core group. Both of them take place at night, for the most part. One has a giant snake and a raccoon that crawls into a woman's mouth. The other has Michael Biehn. And I'm sure that the similarities continue, but I'm gonna stop that. It looks good. It looks fine. I am excited to see it. I honestly would not be disappointed with a just a Hellboy film every like 4 to 5 years, and it's always a different guy. I think that would just be a fun idea. Like, just fucking Doctor Who Hellboy. Just get a different actor every time. Don't bring it up. Don't acknowledge it. Sure, you can like kind of redesign him a little bit if you want to, but more or less all the films kind of keep it in generally the same look. David Harbour's version is far more demonic looking than the others. This one is more in line with a kind of a little more less toned down Ron Perlman version. Oh, I know. Oh, why don't they just get Guillermo del Toro back? Why don't they get Ron Perlman back? Ron Perlman's like 70 something years old. He's not gonna fucking sit there and handle all that makeup and shit again. Physically can't keep it up. And Guillermo del Toro, he and Mike Mignola had conflicting viewpoints of where Hellboy should go. They're never gonna fucking do that. Get it over with it. Just have the right get over it. It's like fucking Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. The past is dead. Let it die. I funnily enough in an episode about Wolverine coming back to the Marvel films, but I don't give a shit about Ron Perlman's Hellboy. I love those films. They are spectacular. I adore both of them. I was obsessed with them as kids, especially the first one, which I probably watched when I was too young to really understand what was going on. But I was like, oh, these are fucking crazy-ass monsters and shit. This is badass. But I love those two movies. I liked David Harbour's version. I made a fan edit of it that I want to redo because the quality of it isn't the best because I just used a DVD instead of a Blu-ray. But I feel like I turned it into a fun movie with a soundtrack of purely ABBA songs, which I think fully enhanced the experience. And I like that film. I had, it's not the best, but I still had a very enjoyable time with it. I know I'm the outlier who enjoys things in this modern internet world of vitriolic discourse, but I don't have anything really bad to say about it, aside from just a sort of lackluster plot line. And this one, it's very toned down. It's the Crooked Man story, which, again, it as I said in my Red versus Hellboy discussion, it just takes place in a smaller town in, like, Appalachia. There's not much going on. There's horrible witches. A man turns into a horse. It's far more horror-esque than the previous ones are going to be. The Harbour version kind of tried to lean into the horror, but in a more spectacular visual way. This one, I feel like it's going to be more classic horror. Evil Dead is where my mind sort of goes, especially that scene where the hands come up from the floorboards and like tap the flooring, very reminiscent of the original Evil Dead. And I have no problem with John Keyes, is that what his name is? Something like that, who plays Hellboy. I think he looks pretty cool. I like how he looks. I like how long his face is. That's a very Hellboy distinctive feature, is his obnoxiously long face. I don't think he looks bad. I like his right hand. His horns look far better than David Harbour's. That's one thing I fucking hate about that David Harbour film from, 2019? 2018? There's the scene in the David Harbour Hellboy where his father, Professor Broom, who for some reason they decide is pronounced Brutenholm, like it's spelled, but that's not how it's pronounced. He is filing down Hellboy's, I was supposed to say antlers, his horns. And you can see the horn base wobbling as he's doing that. Oh my god, that annoyed me so much. Like, they couldn't have fucking just put some fucking whatever that glue is that they use for makeup, just plant it a little further down on his fucking head to keep it stationary or something. Anyway, that ended up in the final film. But this one looks better. Like I said, I like the design. I'm interested in seeing the story. The Crooked Man looks creepy. It looks very much more atmospheric. I don't really know what else to say. I kind of went on a rant there and lost my track of mind. It looks fine. It looks fun. I'm definitely gonna see it because I like watching movies about comic book characters. I like having a good time, and this looks like a good time. This looks like Hellboy. This looks like horror. This looks like a fun movie to watch, and it looks like there's going to be some very grotesque body horror scenes in this, which I am interested in. And now we reach the SDCC 2024 section of the video. Starting off with just a general sort of layout, I have one show and then some Marvel Comics news. This is the main stuff that I saw. I don't really remember what else there was. If you're into it, I'm sure you've already known this. From Amazon. Whoops, I turned my flashlight on. Let's see. Introducing the next deranged entry into the world of The Boys. The new show, VOUGHT Rising, starring Jensen Ackles and Aya Cash. Aya Cash? I think it's Aya Cash. Set in the 1950s, exploring the early exploits of Soldier Boy and a soup you know only as as Stormfront. The only advice now is to keep your hands off the fucking shield. Ooh, hell. Ooh, okay. It's funny how The Boys is just slowly producing more and more spin-offs and becoming the very thing it set out to make fun of. There's that Boys Mexico show that has had no discussion since it was announced, really. And now there's this, VOUGHT Rising, which seemingly will see the... didn't they start Hero-gasm in the 50s? That's another episode topic that I gotta cover, is The Boys Season 4. So that'll be coming sometime soon. Possibly next episode. Probably next episode. What else is there? Yeah, so I that's cool, I guess. I like Aya Cash. Aya Cash? Aya Cash? How did I decide to say it? Aya? Aya Cash, I think. I like Aya Cash. She was fun as Stormfront. Jensen Ackles, of course. Spoiler alert for The Boys Season 4. He pops up as a little cameo appearance at the very end. And I think it's going to be really funny if they just kill him off in the first 5 minutes of the next season. I'd love that, because that would piss off so many bros. Period piece. That's something that I like. It's going to be a period piece. Since it's set in the 50s, there's going to be a lot of N-words, I bet. There's going to be a lot of sexual harassment towards secretaries. There is going to be, what else? A lot of smoking, cheap hamburgers and milkshakes. Segregated water fountains, Korea, if Korea is a thing in the Boys universe. I'm not sure if it is. The Korean War. Obviously not the country. Anything else? Fucking NASA, space, Nazis coming over, Operation Paperclip, whatever Stormfront's... what's her name always Stormfront, or did she change it from something else? That I cannot recall. Because that was like 2 fucking seasons ago, which means it was like 6 years ago in real life. VOUGHT Rising. Oh yeah, VOUGHT was founded in the 50s. What is it in the show? It's like V53? V55? V54? V51? V52? V52. That sounds close. Is it V53? Is it that close to D23? Which I realized... The way I learned what D23 was is because I was trying to figure out what the Boys version of it was. And I was like, D. D stands for Disney. 23, what could that be? That must be when Disney was founded. And I actually Googled it, and sure enough, D23 stands for... Disney 1923, which is when it was founded, and VOUGHT is the same. So VOUGHT is founded in the 1950s, so hence the name VOUGHT Rising. We'll see the beginnings of that. We'll see early superheroes. We'll see more superheroes. Fucked up superheroes in the 50s. If it's anything like what the rest of the Boys show is now, they're going to be sexual deviants who are all horrible. Marvel Comics announces just an insane crossover. Well, not really a crossover, team-up. Daredevil and Black Panther, The Men Without Fear, with creative team Jonathan Hickman and Marco Checchetto. Shishido? I don't know. I don't know. Releasing in November. Hey, Jonathan Hickman's sure doing a fuck ton of stuff. He's like the new Brian Michael Bendis. He's writing a lot. He's writing a lot of Ultimate Marvel, which I still have not read. I bought one of them. I got one of the books sitting around here somewhere. I think it's in the bedroom on my fucking tower of books that I have to read. And I think it's Ultimate Invasion. But I've not read anything else from the main new Ultimate universe. But, I don't think that this one is going to be Ultimate-ized. I don't think... Well, no. No, there is an Ultimate Black Panther. There is no Ultimate Daredevil yet. But I'm pretty sure this is just regular mainstream universe or akin to that. Some sort of world in the multiverse. God, I don't want to think about the multiverse. Although I do love the multiverse as a concept. Just that fucking Wolverine video I did. Oh my god. Alright, moving on to MCU. Captain America 4. We got a lot of stuff from Cap 4, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and the upcoming Avengers films. So I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to prop my phone up just to make it a little easier to read off of here. Hopefully nothing falls. Captain America 4, Brave New World. Right? Yeah. Yeah, because New World Order is a wrestling thing. It's also a racist thing. So they changed it to Brave New World, which I have written right here on my phone if I just look down half of an inch. Anyway, Giancarlo Esposito will star as Sidewinder, the king of the Serpent Society, which I am so disappointed by. Because I really wanted to see some goddamn snake people. And the fact that he's dressed like Bane from The Dark Knight Returns, no, The Dark Knight Rises, just means that there aren't gonna be any fucking humanoid snakes in this movie. It's gonna be some fucking clandestine mercenary group that calls themselves the Serpent Society because they're snakes in the grass and they slither in, and I wish I knew more about snakes to really make this work, but it's 100% just gonna be a bunch of fucking random actors that they get in there. If we see it at all, if we see other members of the Serpent Society, they're just going to be a group of actors who are just decked out in tactical military gear that may or may not be color-coded to their comic book counterparts. And they got big old guns. And Giancarlo Esposito is going to lead them because he has been typecasted. He has been typecasted horribly. It's making him fucking bank, though, and he's good at it. So, you know, it's not that surprising. I would just like to see him in a role other than this. Gus Fring, Moff Gideon, the guy from Far Cry. There's other ones that I didn't bother watching that I know he does this in. Continuing on. Again, there are spoilers. So, you know, spoilers alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Adamantium will apparently be introduced in the MCU with Celestials being made out of it. Which is a fucking wacky idea. A clip from Captain America Brave New World shows Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross directly talking about the Celestial coming out of the Earth at the end of the Eternals, a film which I am the sole fan of. I've never had a problem with the Eternals. I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that the movie focuses mostly on the characters themselves, and the villain, monster, aberrations, or deviants is sort of just a side B-plot. I liked it. I liked all the actors. I thought they all did a great job. Barry Keoghan is in it. I love him. I love his weird face. I like the crazy celestial stuff that's going on. And I had a good time with it. And I was stone cold sober when I went to see that. I cannot say the same about the first Dune film, which I'm pretty sure I've told this story before. But my wife and I should say some would say convinced, others would say tricked my wife into seeing a double feature of the Eternals and Dune in the same day. Both of those movies are at least like nearly 3 hours long. And we didn't get to the Eternals. That one didn't start until like 5 in the afternoon or something. Maybe probably a little earlier, because I like to go to movies earlier in the day when there's less children and obnoxious people there. Usually if I'm able to go to the movies alone. I love going to the movies alone, by the way. It's a peak, as the children might still say. Then I had to go and get married, and now I gotta go with other people. It's probably sometime like between 3 to 5 p.m. is when we went to go see the Eternals, right? And that got out, of course, 3 or so hours later. We walked through the mall from the theater to a restaurant. We had dinner. We had some drinks. She ordered a Long Island iced tea with no idea how much alcohol was in it. And I ordered some other fruity alcoholic drink. So then we got a little tipsy and toasty and walked back to the theater and then drunkenly sat through 3 hours of Dune. Let's see, when would it have started? It probably started about 8. Yeah, I think it started probably about 8 or so p.m. because we didn't get out of the theater until like 11 or midnight, and we were just both so fucking exhausted, and just horrible mistakes were made, and we both liked the movie. We liked both of the movies, but oh my god, sitting through 3 hours of Dune slightly inebriated after sitting through 3 other hours of the Eternals, it really just makes you realize how long a movie is. Because I was just like, oh my fucking god, can this film end already? I'm watching fucking Paul Atreides and Zendaya make fuck eyes at each other, and I'm just like, come on! Just end it, Denny! So it's nice to see that Eternals is canon, because everybody and their fucking mother who hates Eternals, just like the Incredible Hulk, just like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't fucking know, they're like, oh, well, it's not canon to the MCU because they don't reference it, blah, 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 blah. Now they can shut the fuck up. One more thing from Brave New World discussion is that Harrison Ford apparently turns into the Red Hulk right in front of the White House whilst giving a speech. That would make sense based on the trailer scene that we saw. The scene at the very end of the trailer where Red Hulk catches the shield and smashes it into the floor. I like that I like that the reason for shaving the mustache is because his advisors told him that that America won't vote for a president with a mustache. Which is seemingly a way to trick the general audience into not expecting who the Red Hulk is. Although if he just transforms into the Red Hulk in the middle of the fucking broad daylight during a press conference, then there's really no mystery to it, is there? This film is not the original Red Hulk adapted. Because it's like it was a growing mystery. It was like, what the fuck is going on? There's a Red Hulk now, and nobody knows who it is, and he doesn't have a mustache. But this, what could they like? It's not like I said, it's not going to be a mystery as to who the Red Hulk really is going to be if they just outright give it away. I can't imagine it happens immediately. This is definitely going to be late second act, early third act. It really makes me wonder how what kind of route this is going to take if President Thunderbolt Ross becomes a Hulk. Is he going to get impeached and thus will become, like, who's his vice president? That's something that nobody really has talked about. Is his vice president going to be any specific character? Is his vice president going to be a puppet for the leader, perhaps? And is, like, because the leader is the villain, and I'm really looking forward to the leader leading some villains, even though they're making Sidewinder out to be the big baddie. But the leader's there pulling the puppet strings. So, is this all a ploy for the leader to essentially rule America with his giant head? Which, let's just talk about the leader for a second. Please, for the love of God, Marvel, make him tall, vertical head, and not horizontal, big, bulbous testicle head, like Todd McFarlane redesigned for some reason. Fucking big, bulbous head? I know it's supposed to be similarly shaped to the gelatinous meat of a brain. But it looks like he has it looks like he has testicles for a head. There, I'll say it. I'll say what everybody's too afraid to say. That redesign of the leader is awful. It has always been awful. He has two big balls on his noggin. He needs to have it tall and vertical, like a shaft of a penis. Or both. Okay, that's sort of like theory about what's going on with Ross and the leader. They're sort of tete-a-tete. That kind of leads into my suspicions about Thunderbolts as well. So let's get into the Thunderbolts, and then I'll talk about that. Hopefully, if I remember, I'm going to make a note about it. Thunderbolts, asterisk. I'll get to that later. There was a teaser trailer, sort of, not exactly a sizzle reel, I don't think, because it is a trailer. It's just an exclusive trailer like they always do. For some reason, this one didn't get leaked. Everybody was too excited about the Fantastic Four. But from the description, it's Yelena visits the Red Guardian's apartment, and she calls him Dad and says that she has found that the only reason for her to live is to kill people. She has nothing going on. She's been a Black Widow her whole life, and she can't really move beyond that. She's incapable of doing so. Seems very depressed and listless and aimless. Red Guardian is there, of course. He has a new costume. Ghost gets a new costume, because don't forget Ghost, the villain, not exactly villain, antagonist from Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, is part of this team as well. And the Thunderbolts are all individually assigned to the same job, but it is a setup. And if I remember correctly, they all converge from different corridors into one room. Shoom, choom, the doors lock themselves. A red light blares. Bucky gets ready to shoot himself in the head. And they're all like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then Val makes her presence known, and she's like, "You're the Thunderbolts now. You're the Thunderbolts." I wish I had the actual discussion about what it is, but it's... Alright, so I've gotten the full description of the footage shown in Hall H, so allow me to read to you. Crickets chirp in a wooded area with a few small homes. Yelena Belova knocks on a door, and we see it's Alexei's, David Harbour's place. He thinks it's DoorDash, but when he realizes it's her, he quickly starts to clean things up. She opens the door, blah, blah, blah. Yelena asks him if he's been doing well and is fulfilled, and he lies and says, of course, oh yeah. And then she tells him she feels aimless and that she really only just wants to kill people. And as she says this, we see footage of Bucky walking into a courtroom and of John Walker reading an article about him called Fall of a Hero. Oh yeah, I forgot he's in this. According to this Gizmodo article, apparently she's not the only hero in the MCU who feels that way. Yelena continues to talking to Alexei, so that's sort of the staging of this trailer. And again says that she's been throwing herself into her work, which is killing. Then the Pixies, Where's My Mind, starts to play, as Yelena works her way through a secret lair littered with computers and papers. John Walker is already down there and starts shooting at her. Then Ghost appears with the other characters, and a big fight happens. Lewis Pullman character, who is seemingly the Sentry. For now, they just call him Bob, because they want to be a little cheeky. The Sentry is an agoraphobic, sort of Superman-esque character. In the comics, it's a very meta narrative about how he's always been in the Marvel Universe, but his evil, darker side, which I can't remember the name of. It's something dumb. It's an evil, like, demonic version of himself, and to stop it from taking over his body, he, like, wipes memories or something and makes everybody forget that he was ever the Sentry, a character that they retcon into having existed for some time, brief time, like in the early days of the Marvel Universe, when the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, all that was taking off. They did a bunch of fun, like, old, like, recreation of the covers that have, like, Sentry in it and shit. But anyway, that's what happened with the Sentry. So nobody remembers he's around until they created him in the 2000s. So anyway, that'll be fun to somehow incorporate in the MCU if they go that route. Anyway, he stumbles out into the room in a hospital gown. Yelena asks who sent him, and he says, "You were all sent." And then all the doors shut down, and the red lights, like I said, it's a trap, and there's a 1-minute countdown. Yelena explains that all of these characters have done bad things, like robbing the government, contract killing, and more. So, Walker says, "Someone wants us gone," she says. And then a montage begins. We see Allegra, or Val, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, walking into a party that has Marvel relics like Loki's scepter, at least what appeared to be. I like that that's the only one that they list as well. They're like, "Oh my god, this trailer was crazy. There's relics of other Marvel properties and stuff everywhere in this room." What was it? What was there? Loki's scepter, maybe? Anyway, Sentry, Lewis Pullman's character, walks out of a room, and a group of soldiers stand there with guns, and Yelena jumps off of a building. The words, "Careful who you assemble," pop on the screen, and we see the group from earlier all together in an elevator, then entering Val's office. There are, quote, "There are good guys, and you're bad guys," she says, and a few more action shots before she ends saying, "But there are worse guys." And after the title, Thunderbolts asterisk, emphasis on the asterisk, and we see a red limousine driving through the desert, and it's the group, and Alexi's driving, and he makes a joke about how this team, this has the making of a team that can, let me do the accent, "This has the making of a team that can race to glory. That can be the superheroes in the Wheaties box." Yelena interrupts, "I find it best if you ignore him. With a little kiddie toy." I can't really remember what he sounds like, what his Russian accent is. But it's a fun little gag at the end where, for some reason, they have commandeered a red limousine and are driving through the desert. And Alexei is excited to finally be a Captain America-esque hero. Now, it seems very fun. I'm excited for this movie. It's, you know, I've said this online before, and I got some hate for it, just in general chats. It's going to be entertaining. It's probably going to be fairly similar to what we've seen, maybe more in line with, like, maybe a Black Widow, but less sad. Not to the extremes of what looks like Brave New World and Winter Soldier, but not as wacky and fun as Guardians or something. It seems like it's going to be an enjoyable premise, an enjoyable film, which people like to argue against. How dare you? How dare this movie be enjoyable? But anyway, everything seems to me to be pointing towards Thunderbolts being the Dark Avengers. I've spoken about the asterisk before. Can't remember what I said about it, but it was a couple months ago and a couple episodes ago. But the asterisk at the end and the trailer seemingly putting a lot of emphasis on it. I don't know, it glows red maybe or something. I don't know, they don't describe what happens. But the asterisk is to signify that word means something else and has like a footnote or something, or it's a term that's, you know, used for this, but it's actually this, something along those lines. And I think that is going to be the Dark Avengers. There is the line in the Captain America Brave New World trailer where General Ross, President Ross, it's something along the lines of how he wants to make Captain America an official military rank and like kind of legitimize it in a way. And everything that Val is doing, and the fact that it uses the word, this trailer, "Careful who you assemble," and the fact that Val has the quote, "There are good guys and you're bad guys, but there are worse guys," really just seems to me to be a giveaway that it's going to transform this team into a... It's probably gonna... It might be going in the route of the Civil War era Avengers and then New Avengers or Mighty Avengers or whatever they called the two teams. One of them was led by Iron Man. The other was led by Captain America. I could easily see some sort of rework happening where Sam Wilson and Ross, you know, assuming he's still president by the end of the film, they're going head to head. There's a disagreement. Sam Wilson splits off and does his own thing. Oh, and who should show up but Julia Louis-Dreyfus? She's the VP. That'd be insane if she is the vice president. Because then you could just watch the whole VP show, which I think is what the premise of that show is, that she's the vice president of either a business or the America. I can't remember which one. But she comes in, very Amanda Waller-esque, I suppose, and she's like, hey, what's up, dude? I founded Hammer. I don't know what it stands for yet, but I got these new Avengers. And you can call them the new Avengers, you can just call them the Avengers, but they're the Dark Avengers, because it's the characters, you know, you get fucking, you can just make Bucky Captain America, I guess, or something, or make U.S. Agent a fake Captain America. I doubt they'll try that, because it didn't work the last time they did, but it could be that this is all leading into... I don't know where this would lead into, because my main issue with these movies now comes with the next Avengers films. And I'll get to that later, but I don't know where they could repurpose these ideas for that would in any way matter. Except for after Secret Wars and the next two Avengers films. But I really do think that this is setting up that the Thunderbolts are going to become the Dark Avengers. The Dark Avengers, I should explain that if you don't know. So the Dark Avengers are in the comics, or were. It was after Civil War. Tony Stark lost his position as like Department of whatever the fuck he's doing with the government, and he's also the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. He loses it. Norman Osborn takes over, because that's a great idea. And he reorganizes everything and calls S.H.I.E.L.D. Hammer. And it's a running joke that throughout that time period, he doesn't know what it stands for, and he keeps hiring firms to come up with appropriate acronyms, but he never likes any of them or something, and they're continually working on it, and it never gets properly labeled, and even after it reverts back to S.H.I.E.L.D., like by the time his era is over, it never gets a proper name. But he makes his own Avengers, which... to us, we're called the Dark Avengers. To them, we're called the Avengers. He becomes Iron Patriot or whatever. It's the red, white, and blue Iron Man suit. Bullseye is Hawkeye. Moonstone is Captain Marvel. Venom is Spider-Man, and that's a whole thing because he has to stay shaped down, and, like, that causes some issues. Daken becomes Wolverine. Sentry that's the biggest fucking thing right there. Why didn't I lead with that? The fact that Sentry is on the Dark Avengers. And Sentry is in this movie on this team called the Thunderbolts, which is 100% going to be an adaptation of the Dark Avengers. And the Thunderbolts, of course, in the comics, was originally a superhero team. Then it became a team of, like, reformed supervillains that was led by what the fuck was his name? Citizen V, I think, who was revealed to be Baron Zemo. That was during either Secret Invasion or Civil War. I can't remember. It's a great reveal. I've talked about before how I really like that reveal, because I didn't know who the fuck that character was. I was like, oh my god, it's Baron Zemo? That's not good. It must have been Civil War, because I think that was around the 50 States Initiative, which was that's the whole setup for the fucking invasion of the Skrulls. Anyway. Who else is on there? I feel like I'm missing some people. I can't remember. Ares, I think, is on there for a little bit, but they're not going to do that. They got Red Guardian to take that position, I guess. But that is 100% what is going to happen. Guaranteed. I guarantee you that is where they're going with this. All right, moving on to the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. Or whatever that original 90s theme song was. So the Fantastic Four has gotten its subtitle, Fantastic Four First Steps. It is described as a retro future of the 60s. No shit. I feel like we all knew that. Anybody who's paying attention and has half a brain knew that. The art style and like the imagery that they showed on stage just really exhibits that. There's some leaked photos of like just like merchandising kind of stuff that shows like a map of their version of New York, and it's like sights to see in Manhattan, and like Liberty Island or whatever. Is it Liberty Island, or is it like no, I think it's like on Ellis Island. There's like the Baxter or Future Foundation Renewable Energy Department or something like that, and the Baxter Building, and there's a rocket launch site built off the Hudson in the middle of Manhattan. It looks fantastic. I'm super excited. It has the same set designer and set director, dresser person as Loki and the Marvels, which, say what you want about the Marvels, I enjoyed it, of course. The sets look fantastic, especially like the bedroom sets. Like, it really have so much personality in them. Loki, even better. Matt Shackman, the director, says that they went to the desert to find the best type of rock to make the thing out of. Which, I don't know how true that is. It just sounds like something really dumb to say to an interviewer. Pre-shoot material of the Fantastic Four was shown, shot in 4x3. There was a sizzle reel. Pedro Pascal, according to this list, this tweet, I think, has an old school accent as Reed Richards, and he's teaching a science class. It seems like it's like a televised little like science hour project, television series or something. It's like Science Hour with Mr. Fantastic. I don't really know what old school accent is, because it just kind of sounds just like Pedro Pascal just raising his voice a little bit. I guess it's supposed to be more presentational. Hello there. I sound like Jake Peralta from Brooklyn Nine-Nine trying to impersonate Captain Holt. The Fantastic Car, which they showed at Hall H, they had it flying around very slowly and awkwardly, is an old Cadillac that looks straight out of the Jetsons. Fantastic Four, of course, retitled First Steps. It releases in theaters July 25th, 2025. It just started shooting proper just like a week ago or so. There's leaked set photos of like someone just buzzing a drone around the set, showing Yancey Street and the base of the Baxter Building to where the aforementioned launch site is. Let's see. Michael Giacchino will compose the score. I love his music. Fantastic. And there's also early footage of Galactus in Fantastic Four, which showed his giant face peering through a building. He is not a cloud. He is a giant man. Thank God. And I saw some interesting theories which may tie Galactus into the upcoming Avengers films, which is Galactus is not going to be he's not going to be like a universal threat in the way that we typically think of him. I've said it before. Galactus is not a villain. He's a force of nature, because he goes around and eats planets and cleans the universe like a goat. He eats anything. Galactus in this version could be he eats universes to really just drive up that threat value. Because, yeah, sure, the fact that he eats planets, that's bad enough, especially if you live on that planet. But because we know that this is the multiverse saga, and they're leading into the Fantastic Four entering the mainstream Marvel universe with the new Avengers films and the after ones, whatever comes after that, it wouldn't be shocking to bump up that threat level of Galactus to multiversal levels of threat. He is a higher dimensional being. This is how we perceive him, as he just tucks his way down into our dimension. We see him as a giant man instead of whatever horrid entity that just incomprehensible that we would otherwise see, that our brains just turn into a giant dude in space armor. So he comes into the universe, and he's trying to eat it and destroy it, blah, blah, blah. Reed Richards in Secret Wars, he creates the Ark? Is that what it's called? It's the Ark. I can't really remember. As a sort of, exactly what it sounds like, a way to survive the end of the universe, which is how Miles Morales and some of the other characters wind up in Battle World having remembered the past, and, like, you know, that causes problems. There's 2 shuttles that end up there, I think. One's full of villains that all, like, kill each other or whatever. The other's full of heroes. But I foresee that being something that would come into play nearing the end of the film. You know, they fail to stop Galactus or something, or that's how the next Avengers maybe starts, or whatever Avengers introduces them, if they don't go over to the mainstream universe now in their own film, which would be shocking if they didn't, because they only got this one to do it, because the next Fantastic Four won't be until after the Avengers. So Galactus, kind of lost my thought. He is an omniversal threat, a multiversal threat that they're then going to have to deal with, and probably be incorporated some form or fashion with Doomsday and Secret Wars. Maybe he comes into play like he did in Infinity Gauntlet in the comics. Galactus, I don't think he even shows up in the Secret Wars by Hickman. Future Foundation is confirmed. Of course, first saw that in Multiverse of Madness, and the Fantastic Four were confirmed to appear in both upcoming Avengers films. This is the one I'm most excited for. I think that this is the Marvel film pretty much everybody is the most excited for. Love the Fantastic Four, love Jack Kirby, love retro 60s future sci-fi. Really excited to see what they do with it. I'm very excited for the whole cast. I'm really looking forward to it. And now, finally, the Avengers stuff. The Russo brothers have been named as the directors of the next Avengers films. You see, the thing with the Russo brothers is that they did a great job with Captain America 2 and 3, and Avengers 3 and 4. But they were teamed up for all of those movies with 2 fantastic screenwriters named Marcus and McFeely. They're a screenwriting team. That's what they go by, because that's their names. And I really enjoy their work. And I think that that was a fantastic grouping of creatives. Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars do not have Marcus and McFeely on board. They are not working on this, at least at this point, unless they get them in to do some rewrites and punch up the script or something. But I doubt they're going to be doing that, because it's someone else. I can't remember who's writing. I'm going to use my one Google. No, I already used my one Google looking up that stuff about about the Thunderbolts. That's right. Almost got it. Almost tricked me. Almost tricked myself into Googling something twice in the same episode, but as we all know, I do have a self-imposed rule that I only get the chance to Google one thing per episode for some inexplicable reason that I decided upon. But yeah, the Russo brothers are going to return to direct it. Avengers Secret Wars is May 2027. Doomsday is May 2026. Within a year apart, doing that again. Back-to-back films. And of course, the big reveal that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back to the MCU as Victor Von Doom, seemingly of either the Fantastic Four's universe or some other alternate version. Definitely not in the mainstream universe. Although, like I was saying, if there's some sort of device or machinery that's brought into this, I'm trying to think of how you could get Victor Von Doom from the Fantastic Four universe to the mainstream universe for this, but I feel like they might not do that. I feel like Doom might just be doing his own thing, maybe. Or he either steals something from Reed, or he creates his own multiversal traveling machine device arc thingy, and he takes himself with it, or you know, he escapes himself, is what I'm trying to say, on his own, because he doesn't need Reed Richards' help. So he escapes on his own. Galactus maybe follows him, or he somehow works with Galactus. If they're going the comic route, they're going to have to somehow get him involved with Doctor Strange, which, what could they do there? Bring evil Doctor Strange in, maybe somehow? Maybe Doctor Doom in between Fantastic Four, assuming he's in it, and Avengers Doomsday. Maybe he's traveling the multiverse, collecting up villains, creating the Cabal. Huh? And that leads into Avengers Doomsday, which is no doubt going to be something involving the incursions. And fucking maybe Doctor Doom uses his magic and science to somehow fucking send, like, maybe the Fantastic Four are about to dip the universe. They realize that that's not a good idea, but they somehow accidentally still get sent through whatever wormhole system to the main universe, the main MCU. Doctor Doom then uses his abilities to do what they did in the comics, the Illuminati in the comics did with the... What, did they use the Infinity Gauntlet, maybe, I think? Where they're, like, opening up other planes of existence to other Earths and making those Earths collide to save their Earth. That sounds insane, what I'm saying. But if you know, you know. So Doctor Doom is then, like, left alone because there's no Fantastic Four. Possibly there's no other superheroes on this world. But I kind of hope that's not the case, because that's very 2000s, and that's very boring. I like to see 60s versions of, like, the Avengers or something hanging out with the Fantastic Four, maybe. Yeah, Doctor Doom, and then, I don't know, like I said, he travels the multiverse, he establishes his own cabal, he learns more about incursions, and that leads into Avengers Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday occurs. God knows what the fuck happens there, but that ends with the final incursions, which, there's a theory going around that Monica Rambeau got sent to the Fantastic Four's universe that we're going to be seeing, so the X-Men exist there, sort of comic booky related. I can take or leave that, I don't really know. But I feel like that would be an easy way to sort of tie in these two movies and just make those two Earths more unique. Because my thought, after seeing the Marvels, is that Earth that Monica Rambeau lands on is going to be the one that collides with the mainstream Marvel universe. And it takes the equivalent of the MCU, of the Ultimate Universe to the MCU's Earth 616 in the comic Secret Wars. There's the lead-in with the incursions. Doomsday, of course. It's Doomsday. It's also Doomsday because the world is ending. Shit's going bad. They're fighting each other. They're trying to stop this Earth from colliding with that Earth, you know. And that goes into Secret Wars, which will seemingly now see Doctor Doom taking Doctor Doom's role from the comics, which I had always theorized was going to be Kang taking that position. But we all know how that turned out. God damn it. I make these fucking ideas and speculations, and there's always some reason that they don't come true. Fucking Lady Deadpool in Deadpool 3 wasn't Taylor Swift. I'm mad about that. But something interesting is that the Doomsday logo is green, right? And the Secret Wars logo is red and yellow. Now, who do we know that is red and yellow? I was trying to think of a funny answer, but Big Bird and Elmo, I guess. Maybe Iron Man variants are going to appear in Secret Wars. My thought, maybe, instead of the Thor Corps, which in the Secret Wars comic is the global police force of Doctor Doom's battle world, which is the stitched together remnants of as many alternate realities as he could collect, along with Doctor Strange, and they're all separated by giant, like, walls and borders, and you're not allowed to go from one to the other, or if you are, it's a very rigorous totalitarian process. But the Thor Corps are all the multiversal Thors just collected into one police force. And maybe Doctor Doom makes the Iron Legion. It's already been established, an armor around the world. There's just the police force of the MCU's battle world. Could be, will be, a shit ton of variants of Iron Man. That sounds like a pain in the ass to deal with because of how snarky he is, but I could see that happening. I think that's a cool idea that is more in line with the MCU's version of the universe than it is with the comics. Like in the comics, yeah, it makes sense. It's cool to see the Thor Corps flying around. And it's like Jane Foster Thor and regular Thor and Kid Thor and Young Thor and Frog Thor. But in the MCU, I could easily just see that being replaced by Iron Man. Iron Man's more popular, shocking, and the last Thor movie didn't do that great. And the next Thor movie seemingly, isn't going to happen until after Secret Wars. But what are my thoughts on Robert Downey Jr.'s casting as Doctor Doom? Dr. Victor Von Doom, they have confirmed, as much as we can believe, that he is going to be playing Victor Von Doom. He's not Tony Stark variant, although, how hard is it to lie about that? But at first, I thought it was just them fucking around and pulling a prank, like they did when they said Captain America 3 was going to be Serpent Society. But then time went on, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then it became more and more real. And at first, I had mixed emotions about it. I didn't really care for that. I wasn't very interested in that happening. And then I remembered The Sympathizer and Oppenheimer. And I'm like, yeah, he can act. He's a fantastic actor. If you haven't seen The Sympathizer, I highly recommend it. It's a great show. Robert Downey Jr. is in every episode as a completely new, completely different character. No relation to the previous ones, aside from the fact that it's played by Robert Downey Jr., usually in a lot of heavy makeup and like prosthetics. And he is fantastic. And his character in Oppenheimer is like the closest to Doctor Doom. Really, he's a self-obsessed, like, megalomaniacal dude who wants to make a name for himself and be important. And Cillian Murphy is Reed Richards. And so, where it started as having no real interest evolved into excitement. I want to see what Robert Downey Jr. can do with this, because, like I said, he is a fantastic actor, even though he was in that Doolittle movie. And while it is disappointing to not see a new face with Doctor Doom, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because how much of his face are they going to show? Has he reached the point where he's just like, fuck yeah, man, I'm so thankful and grateful for everything, for the chance that you guys took on me nearly 20 years ago, because in 4 years, Iron Man's going to be 20 years old. Let that horrifying fact sink in and reflect upon your age. And also getting shit tons of cash. So he has those things going for him. Maybe we won't see his face. Maybe maybe it's a voice role, like Pedro Pascal, Mandalorian, or there's another example I just thought of, and then it just immediately went away. Huh. Jack Black is Claptrap. I don't know. But I have no qualms with it now. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Just talking about it here and discussing these theories of interesting ideas that are no way going to happen has gotten me excited for it. Let me know what your thoughts are. We're still in the SDCC stuff. This is taking a lot longer than I expected. Now we're at the DC section. DC Comics and Studios. Matt Reeves says that the Batman 2 officially begins filming next year, and it will be in theaters October 2nd, 2026. That is what, 5, almost 6 years? When did that come out? 2020? 2021 or so? That's a shockingly long time for a modern film sequel to be made. It's about the same length of time that it took for the Back to the Future 1 and 2. The Penguin... the Penguin official trailer. It's going to be starring on Max, and it's going to lead into the setting of The Batman 2. I didn't watch the trailer, or if I did, I don't remember. Cape Crusader, Batman the Cape Crusader, has also officially been released. I am yet to watch it, but everything I see looks fantastic. The only thing I don't like is Oswalda Cobblepot, and it's not the fact that they made the Penguin a woman, it's the fact that they gave her such a stupid fucking name. Really, Oswalda? You couldn't do anything better than that? I can't think of any female names that start with an O, so maybe there's something to this. But Olivia Cobblepot. Odette Cobblepot. I don't know. Just, you could have come something better than that. God almighty. Justice League Unlimited was announced at SDCC, written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora. And this is the first Justice League book since 2022. Jesus Christ. I forgot. They killed off the Justice League, didn't they? That was a thing. But now we get to Absolute DC. Everybody called me crazy for believing the rumors about Absolute DC, and it's the ultimate version of DC, and Blake, you're being ridiculous. But who's laughing now? The Ultimate Universe the Absolute DC Universe titles thus far are Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta, which releases October 9. Absolute Wonder Woman by my love, Kelly Thompson. I love her so much. I love everything she does. I'm so excited to see Kelly Thompson writing a Wonder Woman book. I am mad at myself for not having read her Birds of Prey series yet, but oh my god, it looks so good, everything I see. I just haven't taken the time to stop and order the book, the issues. I'm very excited for Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson. And Hayden Sherman on art releases October 23. Absolute Superman by Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval releases November 6th. I have mixed feelings on Jason Aaron. I very much dislike his Thor run. His Avengers run for the longest time, everybody seemed to hate. I never read it, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem too great. And Absolute Flash, which is the one I think we know least about, is by Jeff Lemire and Nick Robles, which does not seemingly have a release date. Probably sometime next year, I'd imagine, or maybe December. So let's go through my notes I have on each of these. Jason Aaron on Absolute Superman. He said that this book is about looking at the original concepts of Superman and asking what he'd be like if he was created today. So seemingly he's going to be very brutish, very thuggish, very standoffish and mean. And really, he's not going to take much shit, because that's what the original Superman was like. Clark Kent... Clark Kent's always the same. Let's see. Jason Aaron said that anything can change, and the only thing he will commit to is that Krypton explodes. Disregard what I just said about Clark Kent. He's going to be a bro with frosted tips. Jason Aaron said that this universe is all about them being all alone, and that they are not throwing Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in together immediately. Things didn't work out the way they were supposed to work out, and that's left Absolute Superman a little bit isolated, a little bit angry, and kind of sexy. That is what he said. That's not my little addition to this note. Just released today or sometime is the announcement that his cape is made out of the dust of Krypton. Whatever that means. I don't know if it's some kind of telepathic ability where he can form a cape out of dust. Or what? Whatever the fuck that has to behold. Also, there's an army of peacemakers that are going after him. Peacemakers are like a super soldier force, apparently, in this version. Also, I think Darkseid has something to do with this universe, although I'm iffy on that. I'm not too sure how that comes into things, but seemingly Darkseid is the maker of this new version, where the maker created the new Ultimate Universe by fucking with stuff. I guess Darkseid might be doing something similar. Absolute Wonder Woman. Diana is the last Amazon and the world's first superhero. She's not just a warrior, however. She's also a witch that was raised in hell. She rides a giant black skeleton made of metal that has wings, which I thought initially, based on the first image of her, which is her riding at the camera, I thought it was like a horrible, monstrous insect horse creature. And I was like, oh my god, that's fucking nutso looking. That looks like something from Apocalypse. No, it's just a skeleton horse that's black and made of metal. She's armed to the teeth. She's armed to the teeth that we haven't seen before. What the fuck does that mean? She's armed to the teeth like we haven't seen before, I think is what they meant to say. And Hayden Sherman says that he is honored to draw Wonder Woman alongside Daniel Semper, who's doing the main book. I don't know what that means. And, yeah, absolute DC. It's on its way. A brand new DC world. Forget about Earth 1. Yeah, get out of here. This is absolute DC. It's gonna be really interesting when this gets running long enough, hopefully, to the point where DC Comics releases the DC Absolute edition of Absolute Superman. And finally, Creature Commandos official trailer, where he finally made it to the end of the DC stuff with the Creature Commandos trailer animated show. It looks fantastic. I love the art style of the animation. It looks so just full of life and exciting. It's set in James Gunn's new DC universe. I was starting to wonder how Weasel was still around, and then I remembered that it is in this new version of reality, this new DC universe that is seemingly, well, not seemingly, it is 100% a new Earth. Nothing has to do, like, it's not, Barry Allen didn't make this when he fucked everything up at the end of Flash. He just fucked up his own reality, and then we just flipped channels to this one. But I don't know. It's going to be pretty much the same stuff happened that we've seen before, i.e., the Suicide Squad, except Weasel was recaptured, I guess. I don't know if this takes place before that is supposed to happen in Peacemaker, or if this happens after Peacemaker. No, it can't happen. It has to happen before, because Amanda Waller is going to be in prison for what happened in Peacemaker Season 1, which is still technically canon. It's just, hey, it kind of happened in a different version. The Justice League that showed up at the end, it was different characters. Or they just didn't show up at all. But it looks really fun. I'm very excited. And now, finally, at an hour and a half or so into the video, we get to Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoilers, of course. So I'm just going to go down this list of a lot of notes I have. I loved Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova. I talked about it in the new X-Men video I did. I adore Cassandra Nova as a character. She's a great villain, and I absolutely fell in love with Emma Corrin portraying Cassandra Nova. She was campy, she was chewing up scenery, she was so fucking wickedly fucking threatening and sinister. I have a huge crush on them now. Skeleton under skin. What does that mean? Oh, yeah. I'm very put off by seeing people's skeletons under their skin. I don't know why. I've just always felt uncomfortable when I see a very skinny person and you can see the, like, visible, signature of the skeleton protruding from beneath the skin. And that's something that we see happen once she takes her coat off and has that, like, weird, like, bandage wrapping thing. I don't know what that was supposed to be. It was just off-putting to me, because I just don't like seeing people's skeletons under their skin. It makes me scared, because there's a skeleton under there, and skeletons are scary. No, it's my own personal issues that I'm working through. But like I said, oh my god, I'm so glad. I was worried that Cassandra Nova wasn't going to be the villain, like the primary antagonist, and it was just going to be Mr. Paradox, Mr. Darcy, whatever his name was. But I'm glad that she did come back and try to just fuck everything up using that sling ring, which everybody's like, whoa, well, how is she able to travel universes with the sling ring? Is she super powerful? Who's to say that the sling ring from this Doctor Strange that she murdered couldn't, like, that wasn't its purpose? Like, in our version, oh, you can teleport around the world or whatever. This version, well, I guess it's not around the world, it's around the universe, because he brings all the people on the far-off planet to Earth in Endgame. So who's to say in that Doctor Strange that was fucking killed by Cassandra just couldn't, travel the multiverse with it? Bam, there, explained. I want Cassandra Nova to put her fingers through my head like I'm a bowling ball, and she is Pete Weber, who is a famous bowling player, famous bowler. I had to look that up to make the reference. But beyond my crush of Emma Corrin, I loved Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought it was fantastic. It was a great send-off, not just to Deadpool and Wolverine, but the entire Fox, just everything that's come in the past 24 years or so. Beautiful send-off, the montage at the end. I really enjoyed how much it exhibited a love and respect and care for the creatives, for the people who actually worked with their blood, sweat, and tears to make these pieces of art that, sure, some of them weren't good. The consistency, the continuity was a mess, but they're still putting together these stories. Storytelling is the oldest form of pretty much almost any art aside from, like, cave paintings. But even that's telling a story. Storytelling is something that is just so uniquely, innately human. And it has all led to this point of Deadpool and Wolverine. It was incredible. I loved the emotion of the film. Those were definitely my favorite parts, where the movie slowed down. At the very beginning, where Deadpool is like listless and depressed and just aimlessly wandering through life. He's trying to find a job, and he doesn't know what he's gonna do in life, and he wants to join the Avengers, but he kind of has a breakdown. He's trying to contain himself in the interview with Happy Hogan, and then he gets the job with Peter at the car lot, and he's lost Vanessa, and he just doesn't really, he doesn't have a purpose in life. He feels like he has no true purpose. I really liked that aspect. It reminded me a lot of the Jerry Duggan Deadpool series, my favorite, of just how well... It's insane that this movie simultaneously has the wacky, just ridiculous consistency of the Daniel Way sort of era that I think of when I think of Daniel Way's Deadpool, and also just supremely the sad clown aspect of the Jerry Duggan Deadpool era. And those just both of those are in this film more so than either of the other two Deadpools. Gambit and the others, as Deadpool calls them, were amazing. I am so shocked at how well Gambit did. Channing Tatum as Gambit. It was incredible to see. I really enjoyed it. Very big fan of Gambit. And, of course, Blade's return, Elektra, X-23 Laura. It really makes me kind of sad that we did miss out on the Channing Tatum Gambit, but I know for a fact that if Fox had gone through and actually made a Channing Tatum Gambit movie, it would have been nowhere near the quality and interest from the public that his one appearance here has. It would have been bad. It would have been just poorly done and just a sloppy story. It would have been like X-Men Origins Wolverine or something. Like, there's no way, especially if it came out when it was supposed to, which was before Deadpool, it would have failed. It would have been just a failure. So, but I am glad that we finally got it. It's the year of Gambit. We got X-Men 97, another episode that I need to have a discussion about, and we got this. So Gambit's doing pretty good. And I think he's also... he's going to be in some new comic coming up, I think. Of course, the Ultimate Wolverines. That was such a fun montage. I am shocked at how well the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine costume was translated to something that actually looked good and cool. That was probably the coolest looking Wolverine of the whole movie, I feel like. It just works. And I would love to see someone try to make sense of Deadpool's Earth, where Wolverine is dead via the events of / similar to Logan, yet the X-Men are still in operation and mutants are still a thing. They don't go into it at all, but does it mean... Because I refuse to accept that Logan did take place in Deadpool's Earth. James Mangold outright said it's on its own thing. It's a whole different thing. But does this mean that Deadpool's reality, either currently or in the future, has a dead Wolverine who just died saving these kids, but the X-Men continued on? I guess that's the most reasonable explanation, is that he just kind of like went rogue and did his own thing. But I don't know. I'd like to see just a discussion regarding that. Let's see. I'm going to save that for the end. I'm going to save that for the end because those are some gripes and disinterest that I have. Okay, here. Here's going back to the emotion and the depression. So yeah, that scene at the beginning with Deadpool, with Wade, I should say, where he's fucking stapling the wig to his head and trying to feel like there's a reason for his existence. And then the scene later with Logan around the campfire with Laura. And oh my god, I was fucking crying. Hugh Jackman is such a fucking incredible actor. And just the emotion he has when he's talking about how he just never wanted to be with the X-Men. He wanted to be cool and show that I'm not that interested. Like, he kept him at an arm's length, although Scott kept trying to get him to join. It seems like they had a better relationship than they maybe did in the original Fox universe. More on friendlier, note. But the emotion he has when he's recounting how he left to get wasted at a bar, and then by the time he got back, a lynch mob had formed and murdered the X-Men and fucking burnt their bodies in a pile on the front lawn. Oh my god, that was just so fucking sad to hear. And just, like I said, the pure emotion in his voice. But... and of course, those were my favorite parts, is when the movie slowed down like that and really... and then the diner scene as well, where they sort of get some back and forth between, what they're working towards. Those are my favorite parts. I really enjoyed those. I thought those were really well done. But here's a question to the viewers, listeners, whatever. Did anyone else feel the energy change in the theater when it went to those emotional, depressing scenes? And I'm talking not in the way of like, oh, everybody's like slowed down just like the movie to watch these characters sort of expound upon their feelings. It definitely felt to me, because I sat in my favorite section of the theater, which is about 4 rows from the screen. It's the best place to go, especially because the very back was entirely full. I don't understand why people go to the movie theater, sit all the way at the very back, and the fucking screen, the theater screen, is as big, if not smaller, than your television screen at home. What's the purpose of going to the theater? Then you also got to worry about all these fucking people in front of you, especially if you're sitting high up. You got to see them out of the corner of your eye. Oh, look, that dude's fucking leaving to go take a piss. These kids are moving around, shifting. Some dipshit's down there on his cell phone with his brightness turned up. No, when you sit about 4 to 5 or so within that general range, rows from the theater screen, you don't have to deal with that. You're sitting close enough to where the speakers fucking drown anything out, really? Unless you got somebody sitting right behind you jabbing their fucking guffaw in mouth, but that typically doesn't happen. It's the best place to go, and Christopher Nolan agrees with me, so fuck you. But anyway, I noticed that the energy in the theater seemed to shift and change to a sort of uncomfortable antsiness. Like, people kind of like seemed like they were shifting around, like just waiting for it to get back to like, ooh, where's the wacky jokes? Where's all the violence and the killing and blah blah blah, this and that? Like, this is trying to be an actual story, something like that. Like, they didn't care. It felt like the interest in the film waned during those scenes to the audience. I don't know. Let's see. The TVA are no longer pruning anyone, as we know from Loki Season 2, a show I have not finished, but I am aware of how it ends. But does that mean that whatever's in the void is what's left over? Because we see a portal open up in the background of the sky, like over a mountain range, and a bunch of shit fall out of it. So I think that the TVA still keeps the void present, but they aren't pruning things. The void is what happens when a universe like runs out of time or whatever Paradox explains, you know? And so, like, when an anchor being, or whatever they call it, loses itself, or like when a universe is reaching its end, it just kind of gets flushed down to the void at the end of time. Wherever the void is, by the way. They say it's at the end of time, but it seems like it's outside of time. So that's my general thoughts regarding that. Let's see, those are some more gripes. I already talked about the credits montage. Deadpool is the second best trilogy of the MCU. At least for me it is. After Guardians of the Galaxy, best trilogy. Deadpool, I think. Let's see. What do I want to talk about? Do I want to have something nice to say, or do I want to talk about all the stuff that I hated? I think I'm going to say all the nice thing. I'm going to... This is a real Sophie's choice. How do I want to continue this discussion? Comment below on what I should do. I'll wait. Okay. I'm going to talk about one more thing that I really enjoyed, and that is the absolute, like I said, the emotion, empathy, love, caring for each other. Those are the only real superpowers that we as real people have. And in this movie, that is what ends up saving the day. And I thought that was an incredible message to have in a Deadpool and Wolverine film. I had that revelation at the end, like near the end, where like the music is swelling and Wolverine is trying to bash down the door to get Deadpool to stop him, and then Deadpool's doing all of his stuff with the antimatter and the matter, and they join hands, and I know it's like, oh, haha, it's making fun of Guardians of the Galaxy or something or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But no, it really is. Wolverine grows as a person, and he learns to care again. He learns to have empathy for others. He learned that from Laura and listening to her talk about her version of him and what he went through, what he did to save her, and not just her, but countless other kids and countless other people when he was still a superhero. He, like, I can't remember what the head of the TVA is, but she's like, after they ask her to rewrite history, she says no, because that would mean that everything you've gone through is how you've become the person that you've grown to be. And the fact that he just has that love, not necessarily anything specific like for Deadpool really, but that love of wanting to altruistic love to help and to save, really makes him a hero at the end when he goes and joins Wade and helps him save not just the universe, but all of reality and the multiverse and all this and that, blah, blah. That doesn't matter because, like I said, empathy, love, and caring, and realizing that we're all together in this one situation and that we truly have to believe in ourselves and each other and treat each other fairly and respectfully and love the fact that we all have to cohabit and coexist. It's played as a gag. It's played as a gag during the fight. Oh, they're beating the shit out of each other and clawing each other and shooting each other in the car and destroying it. And it pans down to the coexist sticker on the back. But that's really the message of the film, is that love and caring and empathy for each other is what saves the day. And it's insane to me that of the current crop of contemporary comic book movies, that those that would have that message are going to be James Gunn's Superman, I'd imagine. I'd have to expect, based on how true to the character it seems to be. And Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's just what really elevated the film for me, was that message that it has. And that's what I just came out of the theater thinking about and really enjoying. That and the credits montage right at the end, and the happy ending. I loved how much of a happy ending it was. Just the people, the art, the storytelling. Like I said, there's nothing more human than storytelling, and every story usually has a happy ending. It's a mythological tale. It's superheroes. I know people like to say this to make fun of it and like, oh, they're modern mythology, but they really are. And even the most rugged mythological tales typically end with a happy ending. Thor's hammer gets stolen, and he goes and dresses in drag and gets it back. And he kills some giants, and he heads back to Asgard and drinks up for the night. And this was really no different. It's a tale of purpose. It's a tale of morality. It's a tale of empathy. And how, again, coexistence with one another, and how we have to come together to face our existence and to really carve out a purpose for our lives. And we can't rely on nostalgia or other people to find that purpose. We need to work hard to get that purpose. So now I'm going to talk about the things I didn't like. I didn't care for the opening In Sync Bye 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 dance. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Very good choreography. Something I did notice after seeing the behind the scenes video online was that the guns in his holster are just pure rubber. So they're flopping around in his holsters, and I'm pretty sure, I couldn't really tell because it was a low-res cam rip, but I'm pretty sure in the final film they are that rubbery. I need to go see it again just to see that. I just didn't feel like it worked. It didn't make sense, really, because it goes from the fight scene with the credits to Deadpool just alone dancing, back to the fight scene, to dancing, fight scene, like, I didn't really care for it. I enjoyed it for the most part. I just didn't think it was the best. It's definitely not as good as the slow-mo opening from Deadpool 1 or the opening of Deadpool 2, which I think is that his like world tour montage, I think. Speaking of Deadpool 1 and 2, the cinematography of this is not the best. The fight scenes are kind of static, especially the very ending one. If I didn't think about it, I was talking to some people about it online, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. You're a fool. Although I kind of agree. But then I went back and watched some scenes, especially the fight scenes from Deadpool 2, and holy shit, it is night and day. I haven't seen that movie since it came out in theaters, but my God, it's so lifeless in this one compared to the others. Like, there's still some stuff going on, but nothing unique, nothing really too creative like there was in the first two, especially the second one. And that comes up with a gripe that I have, which is I really wanted to see Elektra, Blade, Laura, and Gambi. Bonjour, Gambi here. I wanted to see them really strut their stuff in that big final scene, but we didn't see that. We saw fight scenes that were too close and too much movement going on to really notice what was happening, and it was kind of a pallid, gray, dark area that they were fighting in, and it was cloudy and shit. And it would cut between that, and then it would go to a big, like, wide or mid shot, and then it would cut back to the close-up, and there would be a little bit of action here and there, and they're fighting, but the camera's very static. I was really hoping to see a big fight where we focus on each character and the camera's whip-waving and zooming and zipping and zopping through the crowd and the army that Cassandra Nova has, like the big fight at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in the hallway. I wanted something like that to really send those characters out on a high. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got a fine fight that showed each of them doing some cool stuff, but it was very blocked off. It was very motionless. And I think that those are actually, I think that's my main concerns and issues, at least ones that are coming to mind right now that I have in my notes, with this film, is cinematography was a little lacking. I'd like to see those characters get some more interesting stuff to do. I feel like most of the choreography for the fight really went into that initial Deadpool Wolverine fight in front of the Fox logo. I could have sworn there was something else, but maybe not. Oh yeah, this one felt very heavy on the ADR lines for Deadpool. There's a couple for Logan and Wolverine as well, but the Deadpool lines really felt like, let's write 50 jokes and try and get 45 of them in here to this one scene where they're kind of walking, even if Deadpool wasn't supposed to say anything initially. Like, little knife. That was one of them that I really just felt like, oh, yeah, that's obviously, something that they really were adding in, just trying to fill in some... It's like they didn't want any silence at all, and it felt just so much more noticeable than in the first two Deadpool films, but again, I haven't seen those either in a while, so maybe it was like that, but this one it really seemed noticeable to me. But finally, I'm going to end this episode out, nearly 2 hours long. I have figured out Secret Wars. I should have put this at the beginning with the Secret Wars discussion, but that would have spoiled stuff for this, I guess. I have figured out Secret Wars. Avengers Secret Wars, this is what's going to happen. God damn it, there's that little cock guy again. So, in Deadpool and Wolverine, they say that Reed Richards knew about incursions. Johnny brings it up briefly. They're talking about... pretty sure it's incursions. But they're talking about the Void. Maybe they're talking about the Void and incursions. Something along those lines. I can't remember what. For some reason, I didn't write that part of the note. It's just they say that Reed Richards knew about. I don't know why I didn't finish that thought. But something along those lines. They also go on to discuss how if Charles Xavier had known that Cassandra Nova wasn't taken from the womb, and that he never, he doesn't know that he didn't have a sister or whatever. Wolverine's, kind of makes the suggestion that he would have ripped the universe apart to get there to rescue her from the Void. So, my thought is that the Void is going to take the place of Battle World in the comics. It is already a mishmash of tons of universes. You can get there fairly easily if you have access to the TVA's technology. The TVA, of course, from the comics, being a organization primarily seen from the Fantastic Four, created in Walt Simonson's Fantastic Four series. So I think that Dr. Doom or Reed or whoever is going to find and make their way, perhaps Dr. Doom is going to go there with the Cabal, and make his way to the TVA, and then prune the remaining worlds to save them into one dimension that he can then rule. Outside of time and space, where incursions are not going to happen. Because what is the Void? It's not Earth. It's just a place outside of time, like how the TVA is outside of time. Like, here's the bubble of the universe and the multiverse and the omniverse and whatever, and then here's the TVA, and then here's the Void, I guess. Like, what does the end of time mean? Where is the end of time? It's somewhere, but it's probably somewhere where they don't have to worry about incursions happening. And that is what I believe is going to happen with Secret Wars. They're going to just... Because they're putting a lot of fucking thought and time into the Void, don't you think? to really have it not pay off to anything else. And this just seems like the perfect use for it is by getting Doctor Doom to turn it into his own battle world. Maybe it'll, like I said, I originally had the thought that the Avengers film leading just before Secret Wars was going to end with the incursions, and then it was going to have a character that everybody will recognize. At the time, I said Hugh Jackman as Wolverine because I never thought he would actually be in Deadpool and Wolverine. Walking down New York City, and everybody was like, "Ah, it's Hugh Jackman!" And then the camera would pan out, and he's walking down New York, and the camera's zooming out, and then we start to see, like, upstate New York ends right here, and there's a giant barrier, and then on the other side's like a 1940s New York, and then over here's a world where everybody's dogs, and everything's made out of fire hydrants, and over here it's Wild West. And then the camera keeps going up, and then it's Battle World, just spinning in an abyssal blackness by itself, nothing else to see. And it cuts to black, and then the title pops up on screen, and it says, "The Multiverse Will Return in Avengers Secret Wars." But I think that is what is going to happen. And I figured it out. This is a watershed moment for this podcast because I have just unraveled everything that Marvel has planned. Speaking of what Marvel has planned, one more thing that I wanted to discuss is the insane slate of films. So, Phase 5 is what we're currently in. Ends with Thunderbolts. Captain America Brave New World comes out February 14th, 2025. Thunderbolts the 1 month later in May. Wait, no. 2 months. Wait, fuck. No, that's not right at all. February, March, April, May. 3 months later. 2 months is the Thunderbolts * Dark Avengers, as we have established. 2 months after that, Phase 6 kicks off with Fantastic Four on July 25th. And then there's not another movie until Blade in November, which is not happening because they haven't even started filming that fucking thing. And it's getting pretty goddamn late in the series to fucking get started if they want it for next November. So seemingly the only film of Phase 6 in next year is going to be Fantastic Four First Steps. 2026, there is a February 13th slot that is something to be announced. Then Avengers Doomsday, May 1st. And then another November 6th slot, which is another to be announced. Maybe that's where Blade's going to go. That's 2026. Only 3 films in 2026. And at this point, 1 film in Phase 6. Because Blade is not happening. Oh, no, wait. 2 films. 3 films. 4 films. Yeah. 3 in 2026. 1 in 2025. Blade's not happening. 2027. May 7th is the first MCU film, Avengers Secret Wars. July 23rd, to be announced. November 5th, to be announced. Young Avengers, maybe, or, I don't know, X-Men. I don't know, remember when X-Men's coming. Is that 2028? They said, maybe. Maybe the November one is also going to be played. Maybe they just keep pushing it back to every November. But that is, it's just something interesting to talk about, and it just shocked me that that they still have Blade set to come out next November. But that is the current slate of MCU films, and that's the films. There's still shows. There's Armor Wars, whatever the fuck that's gonna be. There is Ironheart, which finished filming and production almost 3 years ago. Some leaked set photos finally came out showing Anthony Ramos as the Hood, and he looks pretty cool. That are like 2 years old. Because that show finished 2 fucking years ago. Where is it? What is happening to Ironheart? But I hope you enjoyed this return of Comic Shtick. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on SDCC, on Crow's Nest, on the Red trailer. Did you watch it? Did you go watch it? If you go to watch the Red trailer, I watched it on the Joe Blow channel or whatever. I don't know what that really is. Tell them that Smokey's video sent you. It doesn't matter on which one. Or if you want to just go on every fucking... if you're interested and you made it this far, go to every... the red trailer you can find and just say, Smokey's videos sent me. Period. Make it kind of a threat. What are your thoughts on Hellboy Crooked Man, on the Boys prequel and the spin-offs? Are you excited for more Boys spin-offs? Because I'm ambivalent towards it. What are your theories on Captain America 4? What are your thoughts on my theories on Captain America Thor? Fuck. What are your thoughts on Thunderbolts, Dark Avengers, a.k.a.? What are your thoughts on my thoughts on Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts, asterisk? The Fantastic Four First Steps. What is happening to me? Are you excited for it? Because I feel like you probably are. What are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four First Steps? What are your thoughts on my thoughts of the Fantastic Four First Steps? What are your thoughts on the Avengers Endgame? Not Endgame. What are your thoughts on Avengers Endgame? And, of course, it's 2 sequels, Doomsday and Secret Wars. What are your thoughts? God damn it, on. There's so much stuff to do for this fucking recap. What are your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Victor Von Doom in Avengers, Doomsday, and maybe Fantastic Four? What are your thoughts on my thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Victor Von Doom on Avengers, Doomsday, and possibly Fantastic Four First Steps? Hey, can you tell that Wolverine video really fucked up my mind? Oh, God. What are your thoughts on Absolute DC? What are your thoughts on my thoughts on Absolute DC? I didn't really have many thoughts. What are your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine? The main discussion of this episode. Oh, God. What are your thoughts on my thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine? Did you like my Cassandra Nova? I want her to put her fingers through my head like a bowling ball thing. Because every time I say that to my buddies who have seen the film, they don't like it. Oh, God. I don't know what's happening. Why am I fucking cracking up like this? It's so hot in here. It's like 100-something degrees, and I don't have any fans on. I got these 2 fucking lights. Oh, my God. It's been 2 fucking hours. I'm just talking to myself. God almighty. Anyway, let me know what you thought of everything in the comments below. Of course, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, Etsy.com, BlakeTWild at Etsy.com, where soon you'll be able to buy the Destructo Boy and the Custodians, Agents of Cross. I forgot to say at the top of the show, and I'll also be at Tucson Comic Con, August 30th to September 1st in Tucson, Arizona. So if you are in the southern Arizona area, if you're in, well, I guess the Tucson area or Phoenix area, stop on by, booth AA183. I'm going to be selling the first printings of the Custodians, Agents of Cross, issue number 2. I'll also be selling the reprintings of issue 1, all of my Destructo Boy books, some posters, stickers, buttons I'll have available, original art, and you'll get to see me. I saw a couple people from who follow me on YouTube last year. That was really cool. Hopefully you'll see you guys again. Hopefully you didn't hate the sketches you got. What else? Follow me on Instagram at NotBlakeWild, of course, to check out my art and stuff on there. And I will see you guys next time, where I guess I'll talk about The Boys Season 4. Bye!